My 33F partner, 34 meters, often behaves irrationally when stressed or inconvenienced and then wants me to get over it once he apologizes. How can we work on this? We've been together 4 years, and our entire time together is full of this shit. I'll say up front that I do love him very much and want to be with him. But this is our biggest challenge and I'm unsure what the right way to respond to this is. He's an angry man. I don't know why, and I doubt he even knows why. But for the most part he seems just fine. But the times he's not fine, it's incredibly difficult to deal with and I always get the full force of his anger, unfairly. Instead of trying to summarize it, I'll give a couple of examples. Know that this happens a lot. So it's not any one situation, it's a wide variety of situations that cause him to act this way. We were together and having a nice evening. His mom called and when he answered, she couldn't hear him so kept repeating hello. Hello. He was yelling into the phone but she couldn't hear, so he hung up and called her back. Quick note, he had mentioned a few times that he didn't like his phone. It was one he had purchased a few months previously. He didn't ask me to help him find a new one. When he called her back, she still couldn't hear him and kept saying hello. His mom tends to be a bit dramatic, so her voice was shrill and loud. He freaked out. He was yelling and swearing into the phone, and then he hung up again. He was so mad that he ripped a dresser drawer out and threw it against the wall. He then overturned my purse looking for my phone, all the while yelling at me to give me your F/King phone. You'd think there was some terrible emergency or something. Once he got his mom on the phone, he told her that I never bothered to replace his phone for him. I left to go pick up his daughter from her mom's. While driving there, my mom called me so I pulled over because I had to get some info for her. I spoke to her for about 15 minutes. He texted me just as I hung up from my mom. He asked if we were almost back, and I said I was just picking up his daughter now but that I had taken a call from my mom. He was so angry with me that I still hadn't gotten his daughter, not an emergency in any way, she was just watching TV with her mom, that he told me not to bother, that he can never count on me, ridiculous, unfair and completely untrue, that he would just take an Uber and get her himself. We were sitting side by side on our laptops working. He asked if he could use my charger, so I plugged him in. He was charging for about 30 minutes before he took a work call, still charging. My laptop was now pretty low, and I also was working. I looked at his laptop and it was at 50%. Not wanting to bother him since he was engaged with a work call, I reached over and took the charger out and plugged my laptop in. For some reason, he was so angry that I did this that he grabbed a can of soda that he was drinking and lobbed it full force across the room against the wall. Each time he freaks out, he will apologize later. He'll tell me he's sorry for being an ass, and expect me to just let it go. My personality is that I can't easily let it go. I hate these immature and scary freakouts and tend to kind of hold a grudge. I withdraw from him. Depending on how shitty he's behaved, I will sometimes sleep in the guest room for the night. He agrees that he has anger issues but says my reaction doesn't help anything and just keeps it going longer than it needs to. How am I supposed to properly deal with this? Even if I accept his apology, he just continually behaves this way. Any ideas on what I could do better, since I can't change him? Too long didn't read. Partner has irrational outbursts all the time. Sometimes love is not enough. No one should be forced to live with someone that explodes over nothing, blames you for things that weren't your fault, belittles you, etc. If your best friend described this relationship, you would tell her to leave. You probably live with a low level of stress and anxiety because you never know when he will explode. Put yourself first and realize this is not a healthy or safe relationship. You've been together 4 years. Do you want another 4 of this? 10, 20? Unless he agrees his behavior is unacceptable and actually starts therapy immediately, you should leave. I would have dumped his idiotic ass at the first incident you described. You shouldn't be his emotional punching bag. You are not responsible for his stupidly over-the-top reactions, and you can't fix what he doesn't care to change. Do you like living this way? Because it's not going to change. He takes no responsibility and expects you to just take it. It will only get worse, and what a miserable way to live. Normal relationships are nothing like this. He can get anger management therapy, or you walk away from this relationship. Also, as a daughter who grew up with a dad with anger issues, that shit is damaging even if it's not directed at you. If he won't get therapy for you, he should get it for his daughter. His anger is not the issue, his abuse is. You have described an abusive and violent partner. We all get anger. He chooses to deal with his through violence. That's a choice he makes. He thinks you should accept it. I don't believe in trying to fix abusers, I believe in leaving them. I do think abusers can and should get help, and some will get better. But they need to admit they have a problem and join an abuser program or work with a psychologist very well versed in abuse. Might want to read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? Your partner is a violent abuser. Full stop. Let's look at our evidence. He threatens you with displays of physical violence. Violence against inanimate objects is always a threat of violence against you. He nitpicks over small, inconsequential failures because he needs to demean and devalue you. He blames random things on you, even if they have nothing to do with you. He bursts into extreme rage over minor events not going his way. Then he apologizes, not because he is truly ashamed, but because if you accept his apology it just makes it easier and easier to continue the cycle of abuse. Also I hate these immature and scary freakouts and tend to kind of hold a grudge. I withdraw from him. That is normal. You should be angry at how he is treating you, because this behavior should not be tolerated in a human over the age of 3. You should not let it go, because he'll just keep doing it. It's a pattern, not a once thing. You even say our entire time together is full of this shit and know that this happens a lot. I'll say up front that I do love him very much and want to be with him. Fucking why? Pardon my French. He obviously doesn't respect you. You are just a useful means to meeting some deep psychological need for control and causing fear. He needs you to feel like a vulnerable, scared, lesser person for him to feel good about himself, and he doesn't care at all what it is doing to your mental health. You're right, you can't change him, so get out. Get out. Get out. I don't know if you had abusive parents that inured you to this kind of treatment, or if he has expertly gaslit you, but somehow you think this behavior is just a bump on the road in an otherwise functional relationship. It is not. This is 1,000 miles of red flags, yellow caution tape, orange cones, and dudes wearing hard hats and biohazard suits. Get out. My 28/F boyfriend, 29/M, got angry because I asked him not to stand naked in a window where people might see. This is definitely one of the stranger arguments we've had. I think lockdown is finally getting to him. We've been together 2 years, live together and are very much in love. He arrived home from an after-work drink with a friend this evening at around 8 p.m. He didn't seem particularly drunk, just a bit jolly. He has a habit of just completely undressing as soon as he gets in the door, right there in the kitchen, and will just stand and chat to me in the nude for a little while before a shower. He's a slightly unusual man, but I enjoy his quirks and I'm definitely not complaining about seeing him in less clothes. As it was a bit later this evening, it was dark outside but I still had the kitchen blind open. And of course, the lights were on. We live in a house, so it's ground floor, and we have quite large windows. Granted, the window looks onto our walled backyard which leads onto a little alleyway, so it's unlikely anyone was casually looking. But our neighbors smoke and sometimes hang out in their yard, which can see over our wall. So I got a bit flustered and was like, hey, someone might see. I don't know if it was due to the alcohol, but he just said he didn't care and stood proudly in the window with all his luggage out. So I leaned over and pulled the blind down, in what I thought was a fairly jokey manner in a non-serious situation. We then had a very unexpected, significant argument about how he just wants to be himself in his own house, that nudity isn't inherently bad, sexual or something to hide, and he doesn't appreciate being made to feel ashamed of his body. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I generally have an instinctive urge to hide my nude body from strangers. And that extends onto people close to me. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of in our bodies, but I wouldn't want a random neighbor to see or anything. That'd probably make them feel uncomfortable. But he said he doesn't care, and said that I'm too paranoid about what people think. I know in all likelihood nobody is ever looking at our house, but still, I think he may have been more drunk than he let on. We had also just been having a discussion about feeling frustrated because of lockdown, and how he just wants to be free to do what he wants without the endless worry and anxiety. That could have been a part of it. But I'm honestly caught off guard by all of this. Am I being overly prudish here? How much do people on average worry about being seen naked through windows? Too long didn't read. Boyfriend wants to be free to be nude in the house, even with blinds open. I think the neighbors might be a little uncomfortable about that. Edit. I just wanted to clarify our house/area layout. The wall around our garden is low so it is easily looked over, and beyond the alley is a large apartment complex with many windows looking over us. If the yard was entirely private then I wouldn't mind. Thank you for all the insights and opinions. It's opened my mind and I'm now aware that this scenario, from my perspective, was more an extension of my general tendency to needlessly worry about what people think, which I am working on. Logically there isn't much reason to be concerned about the reaction of a random neighbor to my so's nude body, especially at the expense of his comfort. And even if it did cause offense, it'd be his responsibility to deal with it, not mine. As you can tell from the comments here, there are a lot of partners who don't think it's a big deal and there are other halves who point out that people can see them. Some people are just more comfortable than others with their own nudity. That's normal. I think his argument with you wasn't really about the importance of nudity or whatever but just a reaction based on drunkenness and perhaps stress which needed an outlet. Obviously you were the wrong target and that wasn't right of him. Perhaps you should broach the subject again to talk it out. If I'm paying rent/mortgage I'm going to be naked in my own home whenever I want and wherever I want. Of course, I'm not going to purposefully be naked for the sole purpose of flashing someone, but it's a really silly argument to have. Once a neighbor or stranger is unwilling to see the person naked and wants it to stop, he or she may contact the local police department. An officer may travel to the property and inform the person that he or she was seen by others naked. This point of contact usually results in a warning that if the individual does not stop, he or she can face charges for indecent exposure because others can see him or her engaging in activities naked. If these activities continue after the first warning, officers may contact the person again and then officially charge him or her with this crime. Just posting this as a counterpoint. People in this thread are getting a bit carried away with the "my house, my rules" sentiment. There's not some inalienable right that we can do whatever we like in our homes, regardless of the effect on neighbors. My fiance and I live on the 3rd floor and I sometimes casually walk into the living room nude before a shower, which has a large sliding glass door to our balcony. If someone was at their car or walking a dog off the beaten path they might see me if they looked up to our floor. My fiance says someone might see you. To which I reply, oh well. And that's the end of it. We've never argued about it or had a discussion or anything. I think your behavior was appropriate and his response was likely related to your discussion of quarantine stress. I think it's understandable that you're concerned about it. I think it's understandable that he's not. But unless he's trying to be seen, then the obvious solution is just to close the blinds. I, 28F, didn't apologize to my sister, 25F, when I got engaged, 6 weeks after she did. My sister, 25F, and I, 28F, had always been on good terms, but that stopped a couple of months ago and I want to know if I've done something wrong. My sister and her fiancé got engaged this summer, right around Father's Day. She FaceTimed me right afterward to tell me the news. It was a surprise, even for her, but my boyfriend and I were, truly, happy for them and congratulated them on their engagement. After the FaceTime call, my boyfriend told me that he felt a little disappointed because he had been planning to propose to me a month earlier while we were on vacation, but the vacation got cancelled due to COVID. I reassured him that I was excited for his proposal, whenever it happened. Fast forward a month and a half, to the end of July, my boyfriend and I were staying for a couple of months at my parents' summer place, where my sister has been living for the past several years. My boyfriend found out that his grandmother was not doing very well, So we booked flights to go see her ASAP. Side note, she made a remarkable recovery and is still doing well. While we were there, my boyfriend proposed, and I said yes. The ring he proposed with was originally his grandmother's. I FaceTimed my sister to tell her the good news, and she seemed very happy and congratulated us. 2 days later, we returned to my parents' place and my sister wasn't home. She was staying with her fiancé. We were a little surprised at this, but we shook it off. The next day, we still didn't see her. A whole week went by, and she still hadn't come home. This was very out of the ordinary for her, and we started to realize that she was avoiding us. It really hurt, because our engagement was supposed to be this happy thing, but my sister made us feel like we'd done something wrong. Turns out, she was incredibly upset by our engagement. I'm still not entirely sure why. My parents also aren't entirely sure, but I think she feels like we're trying to one-up her or something. My sister also got really mad at our parents for raising us to compete against each other. I know people who grew up in those sort of homes, and my parents did no such thing. Anyway, she has continued to be incredibly cold to both me and my fiancé for the past several months. We had always talked about being each other's maids of honor, but she has boxed me out from any sort of planning, but only since my fiancé and I got engaged. She showed a picture of a potential dress to everyone else in a group and refused to show it to me. She invited the rest of her bridesmaids, plus my mom and her future mother-in-law, on a fun weekend to go dress shopping and to look at venues. I'm feeling simultaneously hurt, left out, and like I've done something wrong. She never apologized for avoiding us or tinging our exciting news with her bad reaction. Never apologized to her for getting engaged, because I don't think I should have to apologize for saying yes when my fiancé proposed. Too long didn't read. I got engaged 6 weeks after my sister. She got really upset about me getting engaged, and I didn't apologize because I don't think I should have to. Have I done something wrong?